Welcome to Stoicism for Sleep, how to outsmart anyone without saying a word. Hey there! Before we begin tonight's quiet journey, take a moment to get comfortable. Dim the lights, let the background noise soften. Maybe you're lying in bed, maybe you're sitting on the floor by a window. Wherever you are, you're here, and that's enough. The story you're about to hear is rooted in a philosophy that's over 2,000 years old. Stoicism was born in the open-air markets of Athens, nurtured in the journals of Roman emperors, and passed down not with urgency, but with quiet strength. It's a way of being that doesn't demand control, but teaches you how to meet what comes with clarity, courage, and calm. And tonight, we're not here to solve every problem. We're not here to fix your thoughts or silence your mind. We're here to notice, to breathe, to let go of what never belonged to us in the first place. So if this kind of space, slow, reflective, gentle, speaks to something in you, I invite you to support this channel. Not for the algorithm, not for the numbers, but so that spaces like this can continue to exist. If you'd like, press that subscribe button. Or don't. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Now close your eyes if that feels right. Or simply soften your gaze. Let's begin. Section 1. The awareness in silence. Have you ever won an argument by saying absolutely nothing? Not because you lacked the words, not because you were afraid, but because something within you, something calm, steady, and wise, chose silence over reaction. It's a strange kind of power, isn't it? The kind that doesn't need to raise its voice, the kind that doesn't need to win in the traditional sense. And yet when you've felt it, even once you know, it leaves a lasting imprint on you and on everyone else in the room. Let's step into a story. You're in an office, the kind with buzzing fluorescent lights and coffee stains on the edge of the meeting table. It's Thursday morning and the tension in the air is thin but noticeable. People are tired. Everyone's rushing toward the weekend. You've been working on a proposal for days. Careful research, long nights, and more coffee than you'd care to admit. It's not perfect, but it's honest. It's thoughtful. Then during the meeting, just as you finish your presentation, your colleague Dan leans back in his chair and chuckles. Well, that was ambitious, he says with a smirk. A few others laugh, not because it was funny, but because they don't know what else to do. Someone shifts uncomfortably in their seat. Someone else avoids eye contact. And now all eyes are on you. You could respond easily. You could mention Dan's last mistake, how his numbers were off by 30% in last month's report. You could put him in his place with cold precision. You could shame him with facts. You could win, and everyone would see it. But something in you pauses. You take a breath, not forced, not performative, just a breath. You look at Dan, not with fury, not even with pity, just with presence, a soft, steady gaze. A moment that says, I saw what you did, and I choose not to descend into it. And then nothing. No response. Just silence. For 2 seconds, then 3. The room shifts. Dan fidgets. He wasn't expecting this. Without realizing it, he's lost control of the room. You move your attention back to the presentation, flip the page, and continue speaking. Not to defend yourself, not to fight, but simply to move forward. That's what Stoicism feels like. Not showy, not heroic, just clean. The discipline of silence isn't passive, it's surgical. It takes strength to speak, but sometimes it takes even more strength not to. You've probably heard the phrase, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. But what happens when you simply refuse to enter the ring? What if your greatest act of intelligence isn't the perfect comeback, but the quiet refusal to play a losing game? Epictetus, the Stoic slave turned teacher, once reminded his students, if someone does wrong, the harm is theirs, not yours, unless you let it in. And so silence becomes your shield. Your refusal to be dragged into storms you didn't start. Your protection against battles that are only illusions. This doesn't mean avoidance. It doesn't mean weakness. Stoicism isn't about hiding from discomfort. It's about staying grounded in the middle of it. Being able to say, yes, I feel the tension. Yes, I notice the insult. And no, I will not let it lead me. You become the mountain instead of the leaf. Still, grounded, immovable. But here's the beauty: people feel it, even if they don't say it, especially then. After that meeting, someone might pull you aside. I noticed how you handled that. I don't think I could have stayed that calm. You nod, perhaps smile, but you don't need their praise, because your sense of self wasn't shaken in the first place. There is a kind of intelligence that isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't argue. It watches. It waits. And when it moves with purpose. When we look at animals in the wild, the most dangerous ones aren't the ones constantly making noise. It's the silent ones, the stillness of the tiger in tall grass. The owl watching quietly from the tree, still but alert, patient but present. Silence doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing the right thing at the right time in the right way. But what if your whole life you were taught to speak up, fight back, stand your ground? What if staying silent feels like surrender? That's the paradox. Because sometimes silence is the strongest stand you can take. It says, I won't match your chaos. I won't let you pull me into your level. I won't betray my inner peace for a moment of superficial victory. In a world addicted to outrage, quietness becomes a rebellion, a soft, slow revolution. And you become its quiet leader. So the next time someone makes a comment meant to wound you, or a friend betrays your trust, or a stranger online tries to bait you, pause. Breathe. Don't rush to respond. Don't let the world's noise dictate your movement. Instead, step back into yourself, into that deeper place, the place where peace lives, the place where nothing needs to be proved, the place where you know not every energy deserves your attention. You'll start to notice something else too. The more you choose silence, the more clearly you hear things. The truth behind someone's words, the motives behind their actions. The old patterns in your own behavior. You never question. Silence creates space, and space creates clarity. So when you walk into your next difficult conversation, carry this awareness with you. Let it sit in your pocket like a stone. Quiet, heavy grounding. You don't need to say everything. You don't need to win every exchange. You just need to stay close to the part of you that remains still when the world gets loud. And in that silence, you've already outsmarted more than you know. Section 2, the power of non-reaction. What if the smartest move was no move at all? You're at a dinner table. It's late. The lights dim, candles flickering low. A few friends, some colleagues, maybe even a family member or two. The wine has loosened tongues and laughter bounces around the room like a pinball until suddenly it stops. Someone says something, not entirely cruel, but not kind either. It lands with a thud, directed at you, a subtle jab, a backhanded compliment. The kind that people laugh at while looking at you from the corners of their eyes, waiting to see how you'll take it. You feel it in your chest first, a tightness. Your breath wants to rise quickly. Your mind lights up with comebacks. You rehearse a dozen clever responses in a heartbeat. You could crush them with one line, burn the table down, with a truth they wouldn't forget. But something hard-earned, ancient, maybe even sacred keeps you still. You take a sip of water instead of a bite. You feel your feet on the ground. You hear your own breath. You look at them not with fury, but with depth. with the look of someone who knows something they don't. And you let the silence answer for you. And the room changes. No storm, no explosion, just the shifting awareness that you are not like them. You don't need to respond, because you've already moved beyond the place where their words live. That's the Stoic way, not to suppress your emotion, but to not be ruled by it, to feel the heat rise inside you and choose not to pour gasoline on it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it, and you have the power to erase this judgment now." That's the hidden key. It's not the insult itself that hurts, it's the part of you that agrees with it. It's not the attack that wounds, it's the fact that you allowed it to matter. So what if, you didn't? What if you saw each insult not as a threat, but as information? A glimpse into their mind, not a mirror of your worth. What if you began to study these moments the way a scientist observes the weather? Not with panic, but with curiosity. It's storming in their world tonight, you'd say to yourself. And I don't have to stand in the rain, because the truth is most people are fighting battles you'll never see. Their words, often projections. Their insults, often insecurities dressed in armor. And when you don't react, you give them something they don't expect, a mirror. One that reflects their own noise unamplified. That discomfort they feel, that's not your responsibility. That silence you've kept. That's not weakness. That pause, that breath. That's power. It's not passive, it's precise. It means you've chosen not to let their storm become your storm, not to let their wound cut you, not to let their chaos rearrange your inner peace. And in doing so, you outsmart them without a single word. You turn your attention inward, not in retreat, but in return. Back to your center, back to that part of you that knows nothing truly valuable can be taken by someone else's opinion. So when someone throws a jab, think of the wind. You don't punch the wind. You don't argue with it. You feel it pass and you let it go. There's a calm intelligence in that, a kind of mental aikido. You redirect rather than resist. Over time, you'll find fewer people trying to provoke you. Not because you're intimidating, but because the game stops working. They don't get the hit of reaction they crave. And you walk away lighter, quieter, stronger. So tonight, as you lay your head down, ask yourself gently, what did I let in today that didn't deserve space in my mind, and what might tomorrow look like if I chose not to react? Not because I'm above it, but because I'm beside it, beyond it, uninterested in playing the games that steal my peace. You outsmart the world not with louder words, but with quieter truths. And that is the kind of silence that sets you free. Section 3, Seeing Without Speaking. Have you ever read a room without saying a word? There's a strange kind of wisdom in watching, in letting the world unfold while you remain rooted, still present, in not jumping to conclusions, not reacting, not even speaking, just observing. Imagine a social gathering, a housewarming maybe, the kind with finger foods and softly playing music and a mix of people who half know each other. You stand by a bookshelf sipping something lukewarm. You're not in the center, not hidden either, just there. As conversations spark and die, as laughter comes too loud or too quick, you begin to see things. Tiny details. The way someone's eyes flicker when they lie, the pause before a forced compliment, the tension in a smile too wide. You start to realize most people speak more with their bodies than with their mouths, and you say nothing, you just notice. Not to judge, not to catalog, but to see. There's an intelligence in that. a kind that Stoicism quietly trains you to cultivate, to observe with care, to attend to the subtle, to gather understanding like light gathering on still water. The Stoics knew that wisdom doesn't begin with speaking. It begins with seeing, with perceiving things as they are, not as we wish them to be. And most of the time, we don't do this. We rush in with opinions, with answers, with projections. We talk too quickly, we assume, we act on half-truths. But what if instead you just watch not with cold detachment, but with warm neutrality? Like the way you might watch rain slide down a window, noticing how some drops race each other, how others merge or vanish, not thinking about fixing anything, not needing to change what is, just noticing. That's what a Stoic does in a room full of noise. They become the quietest person and the one who sees the most. And from that seeing comes insight. You realize who's pretending and who's present, who's listening and who's waiting to speak, who's uncomfortable in silence and who can sit with it. The more you train your perception, the less you need to ask questions. Because people are always answering with their behavior, always revealing themselves even in the smallest gestures. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus once said, "The best training is to observe what life offers you, then choose the most reasonable response." And often, the most reasonable response is no response at all. Just a nod, just a breath, just seeing clearly what others miss in their rush to speak. You become a student of silence, an artist of attention, and in a way, an oracle of the obvious. Because while others talk over each other, you're already 5 moves ahead, not because you're cunning, but because you actually paid attention. There's a story told of a Roman general who, before any campaign, would spend a full day walking the marketplace in silence. He would listen, not to gather gossip, but to gauge the mood. He watched the way vendors haggled, the way children played, the way soldiers marched. From these things he saw patterns, where morale was weak, where tension was brewing, where power lay hidden behind words not spoken. He won wars, not with strength alone, but with sight. You don't need to be a general to use that wisdom. You can use it at work, at home, even within yourself. Because there's another level to this. When you learn to see others without reacting, you also begin to see yourself. You start to notice the moment your heart rate rises, the twitch of your jaw when someone criticizes you, the way you mentally leave a conversation when it gets too close. And with that, noticing comes freedom, because now you have a choice to stay present, to not follow every impulse, to watch your own patterns as you watch the world's. This is how Stoicism sharpens your mind, not with formulas, but with presence, not with tricks, but with stillness. And in that stillness, something surprising happens. You become deeply trustworthy. Not because you say all the right things, but because people can feel that you're actually there, rooted, unshaken, available. You become the one people turn to when they need calm, the one whose eyes see more than what's said, the one who doesn't need to speak first because you already understand. That kind of presence can't be faked. It has to be lived, breathed, practiced. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you might reflect gently. Where today did I truly see without speaking? What did I learn simply by being present? And tomorrow, can I enter the world again like that? Not trying to prove, not trying to win, just trying to see clearly and let the rest fall away. You'll find more often than not that wisdom has a quiet face, and truth wears no microphone. Section 4. Wisdom behind a single breath. What if the smartest decision you ever make begins with a breath, not a grand gesture, not a bold statement, just one inhale deep, conscious, and then one exhale, slow, quiet, and steady. That's it. In a world addicted to speed, to dominance, to cleverness, and quick replies, a single breath is the last thing anyone expects. And yet, it is often the most intelligent response you can offer. Let me take you into a moment. You're standing in line at the airport. It's early. You're tired. The flight is delayed again. A man ahead of you is arguing with the staff, voice rising, arms flailing. People are turning to look. You can feel the stress ripple through the line like static electricity. Then, as if on cue, the gate agent turns to you. Her face is flushed, eyes tight. She's expecting more tension. Another frustrated passenger. Maybe even anger. And you breathe, not just out of habit, but as an act of choice. In and out. You look at her with softness. You say simply, take your time. I'm in no rush. That's all. But what you've just done is far more than kindness. You've introduced calm into a chaotic system. You've interrupted the momentum of frustration with the grace of stillness. You've demonstrated, not told, but shown what real composure looks like. That's what Stoicism teaches us. That control isn't about forcing the outside world, it's about managing our inner one. And that mastery always begins with the breath. Marcus Aurelius didn't rule Rome with fury, he ruled it with awareness. He journaled about it constantly, reminding himself to return to the present moment again and again. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength isn't loud, it doesn't clench its fists, it doesn't shout down its enemies. It breathes, it slows, it observes. Because most conflicts, most regrets, most sharp words that we later wish we could take back, they all happen in the space before the breath. In that impulsive, reactive moment where the mind goes dark and the tongue goes sharp. But when you insert just one breath between stimulus and response, you widen the gap. You create space. You open the door to something wiser. It's like watching a cup of hot tea settle after you've stirred in sugar. If you let it rest for a moment, everything settles. The water clears. The sweetness rises. The same is true of your mind. The more you practice this act of simply breathing before acting, the more others begin to notice something about you. Not that you're emotionless, not that you're robotic, but that you carry something most don't sovereignty. You don't belong to the moods of others. You don't jump at every trigger. You respond when you're ready, not when you're pushed. There's a scene from ancient Greece told of a young student of Zeno, the father of Stoicism. The student asked, "How will I know when I've learned self-control?" Zeno replied, "When insult no longer calls the blood to your face and you can return to the breath instead of the blade." It's poetic, but also practical, because we live in a time of constant provocation. Social media trains us to react before we reflect. News headlines are designed to anger or alarm. Even casual conversation can become a battlefield if we're not careful. But the Stoic isn't tossed around. The Stoic breathes, and through that breath they reclaim authority over themselves. They turn what could have been a spark of destruction into a moment of clarity. You'll find this in small places too. In the pause before replying to a sharp email. In the moment your child spills something and looks up at you afraid. In the second your partner says something careless and your whole body wants to defend. What happens in that one breath is the difference between reaction and reason, between regret and peace. So tonight, as you let your body rest and your breath grow softer, perhaps you can reflect, where did I breathe today instead of break? Where did I pause and in doing so preserve my inner calm? And if today was filled with too many rushed responses, then maybe tomorrow is your chance to begin again. With one breath, then another, and another still, until even the storms of the world begin to respect your silence. You don't have to outtalk anyone. You don't have to prove you're right. You just have to remain true to your center. And sometimes that begins with doing the simplest thing of all. Inhale. Exhale. Begin again. Section 5. Silence as a blade. What if the sharpest response is none at all? Imagine a sword that cuts without ever being drawn. A weapon that disarms not with steel but with stillness. That's what silence can be when held with clarity. Not the silence of fear or shame or retreat, but the silence of mastery. Let me offer you a scene. You're in a group setting, a casual gathering, maybe co-workers after hours or friends who drifted into a conversation that's becoming sharper than it should. One person, let's call her Maya, is speaking too loudly, a little too often. She's had a long week and her words are laced with bitterness dressed in humor. She begins to joke at your expense. Of course you'd think that she says with a grin, "You always play it safe, don't you?" A few people laugh not maliciously, just out of discomfort. The kind of laughter that doesn't know what else to do. It's a challenge, a test. Everyone looks at you waiting, expecting a jab back, a witty remark, a tug of war. And yet, you give them nothing. You just sit with it, eyes calm, posture relaxed, face unchanging. There's a kind of silence that empties a room. This is that silence. No one knows what to do with it. Not Maya, not the others. Because your non-reaction is more unnerving than anything you could have said. It's not cold. It's not even passive. It's simply complete. In that moment, something shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly. You have made a decision not to respond, not to feed the fire. You have chosen to let the storm pass through you like wind through trees. In doing so, you've revealed something deeper, that you are not bound by the need to defend yourself, that your identity doesn't require applause or retaliation, that your worth does not rise or fall with public opinion. This is the silence of the Stoic. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Not because you are either, but because you know what you're choosing. You are not here to win every exchange. You are here to win your peace. And here's the paradox: when you choose silence from a place of strength, it speaks louder than any insult. People notice, not because you raise your voice, but because you lower your reactivity. You show them a different rhythm, a different pace. While the world accelerates into conflict, you decelerate into presence. You begin to teach without trying. You begin to influence without effort. Because silence, true silence, is unnerving to the insecure and magnetic to the grounded. Think of the lion. The lion doesn't roar unless it needs to. Most of the time it watches, waits, walks slowly, moves with purpose. Its silence is its dominance. Or the old monk on the mountain who speaks only once a day, but whose words carry the weight of thunder. Not because of what he says, but because of all the words he chose not to say. That's the kind of silence you are learning to carry. One that doesn't need to win arguments because it no longer needs to argue. One that doesn't need to interrupt because it no longer needs control. One that doesn't fear discomfort because it has already befriended itself. But let's be honest, it's not easy. There will be days when you want to shout back, when your ego feels bruised, when someone's cruelty feels undeserved and justice feels urgent. On those days, remember, you are not avoiding the fight. You are choosing not to step down into it. Because a blade only leaves its sheath when there's no other way. And most of the time there is. You'll walk away from some conversations not because you were weak, but because you were wise enough to know they were traps. You'll leave others wondering why their poison didn't land, and that's all the answer they'll ever get. And you'll sleep better, walk lighter, think clearer, because you didn't give your peace away to someone who didn't know what to do with it. So tonight, as you lie in your bed feeling the soft rhythm of your breath rise and fall, ask yourself, where today did I let silence do the work for me? Where did I hold the sword but never draw it? And if tomorrow brings a new challenge, will I remember that the sharpest reply might just be the breath I didn't waste? Sometimes you win not by striking, but by never needing to strike at all. Section 6, Emotional Mastery, is the ultimate strategy. What if the person who feels the most, but shows the least, is the strongest in the room? You've seen it before. A debate spiraling into personal attacks. A family argument about dinner that becomes a referendum on years of unresolved tension. Or a partner snapping over something small, but the emotion behind it is anything but small. We live in a world where people wear their emotions like open wounds, where every offense must be avenged, where every trigger must be pulled. But a Stoic doesn't hide their feelings. They harness them. They feel the anger but don't become it. They feel the sadness but don't drown in it. They feel the injustice but don't erupt at the first spark. Instead, they notice. There's a deep difference between suppression and mastery. Suppression says, I feel nothing. Mastery says, I feel everything and still choose my response. Let's take a real life moment. You're driving. It's been a long day. You just want to get home. Then, out of nowhere, someone cuts you off hard. No signal, no apology, just a flash of metal and your brakes squeal. Your pulse spikes. Your hands tighten on the wheel. You imagine all the things you could shout if only the windows were down. You feel heat, rising adrenaline, insult, ego. And then you catch yourself. You realize this moment is a crossroads. You can chase them with your car or your thoughts, or you can come back to yourself. You breathe, you unclench your jaw, you exhale the tension that wasn't yours to begin with. And just like that, you've broken the chain. You didn't let their recklessness become your story. You didn't let their thoughtlessness steal your peace. You kept your emotional sovereignty. That's not weakness. That's not passivity. That's power. It's the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. It simply holds. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Every moment of emotional discomfort is a proving ground. Not for them, for you. Do you allow external noise to dictate your internal weather, or do you hold the thermostat in your own hands? You begin to realize not everything requires a response. Not every fire deserves your fuel. Not every opinion should rent space in your mind. In fact, when you no longer need to respond to everything, you become the most dangerous kind of person: calm, clear, centered. Not cold, but conscious. You become someone who walks into tense rooms and doesn't absorb the tension. Someone who listens to criticism without shrinking. Someone who hears a lie and doesn't rush to correct it, because truth doesn't need to panic. The Stoics didn't aspire to feel less. They aspired to feel deeper, but remain free. Think of it like this. An angry person is like a boat without a rudder. They're at the mercy of every wave, every wind, every shout from the shore. But a stoic installs a keel beneath the surface, an unseen weight that keeps the boat steady even in the storm. And what is that keel made of? Self-awareness, breath, practice, and the quiet confidence of knowing that you don't have to react just because you were provoked. You begin to ask different questions. Not, how do I win this argument, but is this argument even worth entering? Not, how can I show them they're wrong, but what part of me still needs to be right? These questions change everything. They dissolve the impulse to dominate. They reveal the insecurity behind our defenses. They uncover the fragile places we still try to guard with noise. And once you see that, you don't need to armor up anymore. You can be soft and strong, open and unshakable. You can choose stillness even while your heart races. You can choose presence even when insulted. You can choose grace even when unseen. This isn't easy. It takes practice. It takes failing. It takes forgiveness, especially toward yourself. But every time you pause before reacting, you strengthen a different muscle, one the world rarely teaches. The ability to feel fully and still choose wisely. So tonight before sleep welcomes you, you might reflect, where today did I let someone else's storm enter my boat? And where did I hold steady breathing through the waves sailing through the noise? Tomorrow will bring more tests, more provocations, more moments where your emotions beg for release. But if you can meet them with awareness, if you can feel them, hold them, and let them pass through without gripping, then you've already outsmarted the chaos. Because control over others is temporary, but control over yourself, that is eternal. Section 7, relinquishing the need to be right. What if being right isn't worth the weight it carries? It's a quiet trap, isn't it? The urge to correct, to clarify, to prove, not out of arrogance most of the time, but out of something far more human. The need to be seen, understood, respected. But Stoicism whispers something radically different. You don't have to be right. You only have to be real. And often the most real thing you can do is let go of the fight for correctness. Let's walk through a moment you've likely known. A dinner with old friends. The conversation drifts toward politics or parenting or something equally sensitive. Someone states an opinion, confident, forceful, completely misinformed. You know the facts, you've read the books, you've lived the experience. And for a split second, you feel it rise the urge to jump in, set the record straight, to say, actually, to educate, to defend the truth. But then you pause and you ask yourself, why will this correction truly plant a seed or only bruise an ego? Will it strengthen the relationship or merely feed yours? Will it bring clarity or just prove a point that didn't need proving? And in that pause, a new possibility opens. You smile, you nod, you let them keep the floor. Not because they're right, but because your peace is more important than your pride. That's what the Stoics knew. Truth doesn't need to shout. It simply is. Epictetus reminds us it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. The opinion that we must correct. The belief that we have to win. The story that silence equals surrender. But silence is not surrender. It's sovereignty. Because every time you resist the pull to argue, you reclaim energy that would have been wasted on noise, and that energy, that presence, it becomes fuel for something far greater, your clarity, your stillness, your integrity. It's not that you don't care about truth, It's that you care more about your inner alignment than temporary applause. Think of the master swordsman. He doesn't draw his blade for every challenge. He chooses when to engage. And more often than not, he chooses not to. Not because he fears losing, but because he knows how precious his discipline is. There's a simple phrase in Zen, let the other person be right. It's not sarcasm, it's not passive aggression, it's a doorway into deeper peace. Try it sometime. Let someone win the conversation. Let them think you agree or don't care or miss the point. Watch how your ego flinches, and then watch how your soul softens. You'll begin to see that the real struggle was never with them. It was within you. Your need to prove, to impress, to feel secure through validation. But the more you release that need, the more untouchable you become. You stop grasping. You start breathing. You trust that the people who matter will see your depth in time, and the ones who don't were never listening anyway. You begin to love being underestimated. It gives you space, room to observe, room to listen, room to be. There's a scene in Marcus Aurelius' Meditations where he reflects on being criticized by others. His response is striking. If they are right, I have no reason to complain. If they are wrong, why should I care? It's a posture of peace, unconcerned with the noise of ego, rooted in the freedom of non-resistance. So, the next time someone misquotes you, misjudges you, or misunderstands your silence, let them smile. Walk on. Let truth do its quiet work in the background, because your mission was never to convince. It was to live fully aligned with what you know to be enough. To walk the day with integrity, not applause. And when you lay down at night, what stays with you is not the clever things you said, but the storms you chose not to enter. So tonight, as you drift into stillness, ask yourself, where today did I choose peace over pride? Where did I surrender the need to be right, and in doing so reclaim something far greater? You don't need to win arguments. You don't even need to be understood. You just need to live in such a way that the silence you leave behind echoes longer than any victory. Section 8, the wise don't wrestle in the mud. What if refusing to engage was your most strategic move? There's an old saying, never wrestle with a pig. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. It sounds humorous. But behind it lives a deep Stoic truth, one that separates the wise from the reactive, the grounded from the provoked. Let's enter a familiar moment. You're online scrolling through comments. Someone has posted something inflammatory, perhaps directed at your work, your beliefs, your identity. You pause. Read it again. It's unfair, unkind, maybe even deeply ignorant. The heat rises. Your fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to respond with facts, with reason, with truth. You imagine the perfect takedown, the mic drop, the digital applause that will surely follow when others see how effectively you dismantled their argument. But something in you pauses. You remember what it feels like afterward, the hollowness of winning a war no one ever really wins. The wasted hours, the sleepless nights, the invisible toll. And so instead, you don't reply. You close the app, you step outside, you breathe. That moment, simple and quiet, is a revolution. It's not weakness, it's not surrender, it's strategy. The Stoics understood this, that not every battle deserves your presence, that some fights are designed not to be won, but to consume you, to drag you into noise, to sap your clarity, to trade your focus for temporary ego boosts. Epictetus taught if someone provokes you, remember that it is not the person who insults you who causes offense, but your decision to be offended. So why wrestle? Why lower yourself into mud when your life is meant for more than wrestling pigs? Here's the truth. When someone seeks conflict, they are rarely seeking truth. They are seeking reaction. And every time you give it to them, you reward their chaos. You become fuel for their fire. But when you withhold that fuel, when you step out of the ring entirely, you take their power with you. It's not about letting them get away with it. It's about choosing where your energy belongs. It's about understanding that being pulled into every argument is the fastest path to inner exhaustion. Look at nature. Does the ocean argue with the wind? Does the mountain explain itself to the storm? No. They remain what they are. Moved at times, but never dismantled. This is the essence of Stoic stillness. Not resistance, but refusal. Not passivity, but precision. You begin to ask deeper questions. Will this argument matter in 5 days? Will it help anyone evolve? Is this rooted in truth or just noise dressed as urgency? If the answer is no, you let it go. Not because you can't fight, but because you no longer need to. Because your peace is not up for negotiation. Because your energy is not for sale. Because your time is too precious to spend in arenas built for ego and drama. Think of someone you admire not for their flash, but for their steadiness. Chances are they don't flinch when provoked. They don't chase every whisper. They don't swing wildly when insulted. They stay still. They listen, they walk on. This doesn't mean becoming a doormat. You still stand for what matters, but you learn to distinguish the essential from the petty. And when you do speak, your words carry more weight because people know they come from intention, not impulse. So when the mud flies, step back. Let others swing and shout. Let them assume they've won something. And you walk on clean, focused, unshaken. You choose the long path, the quiet victory, the power that comes not from proving, but from preserving. And when you reach the end of the day, when the lights go out and the world fades to stillness, you'll know you didn't waste yourself. You didn't fight battles that weren't yours. You kept your clarity intact. So tonight, as your body softens into rest, ask yourself gently, where did I almost step into the mud today? And how did it feel to walk away? And tomorrow, when the next invitation to chaos arrives, will you remember that not every insult is worth answering? That not every flame deserves your breath? And that sometimes the smartest thing you can do is keep your hands clean and your soul untangled. You don't rise by wrestling. You rise by remembering where you belong. Section 9, the gaze that speaks louder than words. What if one steady look said more than 1,000 sentences ever could? There's something ancient in the eyes. Before language, before writing, before the world became crowded with noise, we spoke with glances. We read truth in expressions. We felt presence or its absence, not from what people said, but from how they looked at us. And even now, beneath all our modern noise, that truth remains. A Stoic knows words can be manipulated. Tone can be faked. But the eyes tell everything. Let me offer you a moment. You're in a meeting. The tension is high. An idea you've quietly championed is now being questioned, perhaps even ridiculed by someone with more power, more authority, more volume. Their voice fills the room. Their fingers point. Their words are sharp, clever, cruel even. And then they turn to you, waiting, expecting a defense, a rebuttal, a flinch. But instead, you look at them quietly. No aggression, no trembling, just a gaze as steady as the surface of a mountain lake. In that moment, you say nothing, but your silence is not empty. It's full of presence, full of knowing, full of restraint. And it cuts sharper than anything you could have said, because your look carries weight. Not the weight of pride or anger, but the weight of someone who has nothing to prove. That's a different kind of power. The kind that unnerves people not through domination, but through depth. Because most people aren't used to being looked at, really seen. They're used to reactions, to defensiveness, to noise. But your gaze, it reflects none of that. It simply watches, it meets theirs, and it reveals something about you. You are not rattled. You are not chasing approval. You are not here to play the game they expect. That throws them off. And in many ways, it disarms them completely. The Stoics believe that the soul shines through the face, especially the eyes. Marcus Aurelius in his meditations often returned to the theme of holding oneself like a Roman, with dignity, with stillness, with quiet command. And what does that look like in a room full of noise? It looks like the person who doesn't rush to interrupt, who listens deeply, who says little, but when they do, the room leans in, and when they don't say anything at all, the silence lingers, because presence speaks. You've likely met someone like this, a mentor, a teacher, a stranger you passed once who held your gaze just a moment longer than expected, and somehow it stayed with you. They didn't dominate, they didn't perform, they simply were. That is what Stoicism teaches. To carry stillness into chaos, to bring depth where there is shallowness, to meet the gaze of the world not with fear and not with fire, but with an unshakable calm. But don't mistake this for superiority. This isn't about intimidating others. It's about being so rooted in who you are that no reaction is required to prove it. So, the next time someone confronts you, tries to provoke, test, or undermine you, pause. Don't rush to speak. Let your eyes hold the space. Let your silence carry your confidence. Let the moment stretch. Because in that pause, in that look, in that breath, you are teaching them something. Not with lessons, not with arguments, but with a quiet kind of certainty that cannot be rehearsed. And maybe, just maybe, they will feel it. The weight of your presence, the strength of your restraint, the peace of someone who has already chosen their center and has no intention of leaving it. This is what it means to outsmart without saying a word, to speak without speaking, to be fully present without performance, to let your eyes hold a line when your words are not required. So tonight, as your eyelids grow heavy and your body settles deeper into the bed, ask yourself softly, where today did I meet a challenge with presence instead of protest? Where did my gaze speak for me, and speak more truly than words could? And tomorrow, when the next test arrives, can I remember that I don't need to raise my voice? If I've already raised my awareness, there is a gaze that says, I see through this. There is a gaze that says, I will not be moved. And there is a gaze that says, most of all, I am at peace, and that is enough. Let that be your reply. Let that be your wisdom. Let that be your calm sword. Section 10, slowing down when the world speeds up. What if your greatest advantage was the pace no one could rush? Most people move like they're being chased. By deadlines, by doubts, by the need to be impressive. There's a kind of fear baked into the speed of modern life. The fear that if you slow down even for a moment, you'll be left behind, ignored, forgotten. But the Stoic knows speed is not proof of importance. Stillness is not weakness. And silence often sees what noise cannot. Let's visit a familiar moment. You're walking into a conversation at work, a team meeting perhaps. The energy in the room is frantic. People talk over each other, pitch ideas too fast, interrupt mid-sentence. Someone brings up a challenge and the room snaps into overdrive. Solutions fly like arrows and anxiety moves from face to face like static. But you breathe. You don't rush to speak. You write a note just for yourself. You listen, not to react, but to understand. After a while, someone notices you're quiet. Do you have a thought, they ask? And you do. You speak slowly, with clarity, without defensiveness. And in that moment, the whole room quiets, not because you demanded it, but because your presence slowed them. That's the gift of choosing your own pace. It's the act of stepping outside the storm so you can see it more clearly, and the Stoics practice this as a daily ritual, not to delay, not to avoid, but to protect their clarity from being consumed by haste. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Don't let your mind be carried away by impressions. Take a moment before reacting. One moment, one breath, that's often all it takes. Because urgency more often than not is manufactured. Most things can wait the length of a breath. Most people can wait the length of a sentence spoken with care. But speed, when unexamined, becomes a trap. It convinces us that urgency is the same as importance, that faster is always better, that silence is emptiness. Yet when we slow down just enough to hear our own mind again, we begin to notice the emotion behind our urge to reply, the unspoken fear in someone's voice, the subtle truth hiding behind a noisy claim. This is how you outsmart the world without a single confrontation. You slow when others scramble. You walk when others sprint. You speak only when words are rooted, not reflexive. And what happens next, you begin to own time not in minutes or hours, but in presence. You're no longer tossed into others' timelines. You're no longer compelled to meet their intensity. You choose when and how to engage. And this choice, it changes everything. Because now, when someone raises their voice, you don't have to match it. When a situation feels urgent, you don't have to absorb the panic. When life accelerates, you become the one steady hand on the wheel. This doesn't mean you avoid responsibility. Quite the opposite. It means you become more responsible because your decisions are made from still water, not turbulent waves. And others begin to feel it. They trust you more. They follow your rhythm even if they don't understand it. They may not say it, but they know. You are not rushed. You are not reactive. You are not performing. You are here. And in being fully present, you slow down the entire system. So tonight, as the world hums beyond your walls, as notifications fade and tasks are set aside, you might ask, where today did I let the world rush me? And where did I pause, breathe, and reclaim my pace? Because you don't need to keep up. You need only to stay aligned. Let others race. Let others fumble for quick answers. You walk softly. You speak slowly. You remain anchored. And in doing so, you arrive where others miss. Because the path of wisdom is rarely fast, it is always steady. Section 11. Understanding without needing to explain. What if the deepest kind of understanding needed no validation at all? Some truths sit quietly. They don't demand to be known. They don't ask for attention. They simply exist like mountains beneath fog, unmoved by whether or not someone notices them. And when you carry one of those truths inside you, you begin to realize you don't always need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify your silence, your choices, your peace. You just need to live it. Let's step into a moment. You're sitting across from someone you care about, maybe a friend, a partner, even a parent. The conversation turns difficult. Tensions have built, words are exchanged. And then comes the moment you've seen before they misunderstand you. They assume the worst. They tell a story about your motives that doesn't feel true. Your instinct rises to correct them, to reframe, to break it all down so they can see what you see. But something stops you. Not apathy, not fear, but clarity. You realize this isn't about the facts, it's about where they're at in their mind. And no amount of explanation will land until they're ready to hear it. So, you pause. You let the silence be. You soften your posture. You look at them not with resistance, but with gentle witnessing. You say, "I hear you," and nothing more. And that becomes the turning point. Because in that space, in that lack of defense, you're offering something deeper than words' presence. That's the kind of presence the Stoics practice, not loud, not righteous, just whole. They knew that truth doesn't require performance, that sometimes the wisest response is no response. And that understanding, true understanding, doesn't need to be proven. Seneca said it plainly, a wise man is content with himself. Not content because he knows everything, but because he no longer needs to be understood by everyone. That's the shift. When you begin to trust your own inner clarity more than someone else's approval, a whole new kind of peace opens up. And you realize if someone truly wants to understand you, they will ask, they will slow down, they will stay curious. But if someone is arguing to win, if they've already made up their mind, if they're defending their version of you instead of meeting the real one, then explaining becomes noise. In fact, the more you explain, the more you lose yourself in their story. And the Stoic refuses to do that. The Stoic doesn't retreat, but neither do they chase validation. They know that some things are meant to be lived, not argued. Some lessons are best revealed through consistent presence. Not big speeches, not long emails, not final words, but by showing up the next day still grounded, still kind, still yourself. This is how you outsmart confusion without resistance. You remain simple in a world that wants complexity. You remain calm in a world that expects performance. You remain quiet in a world that feeds on reaction. And slowly, without trying to convince anyone, you become deeply trusted. Not because everyone agrees with you, but because you've shown them over and over that you don't need to win to remain whole. You begin to notice something else too. The people who matter most will start to feel it, even if they don't say so. Even if it takes time. They will feel the safety in your stillness. They will recognize the honesty in your restraint. And they will come closer, not because you demanded it, but because you invited it, without a word. So tonight, as your body lies in quiet and your breath slows to its softest rhythm, ask yourself, where today did I feel misunderstood and chose peace instead of proof? Where did I hold back the need to be right and stayed rooted in what I knew? And tomorrow, when the world offers its next test, will you remember that your understanding does not need to be shouted, that your presence will always speak louder than your defense, and that some truths shine brighter when left unspoken? Let that truth rest with you now. Let it warm your bones. Let it whisper, you are not here to be explained. You are here to be lived. Section 12. Silence is the most elegant refusal. What if the most graceful no didn't need to be spoken at all? We often think of silence as absence, as a void, as something empty. But the Stoic sees it differently. Silence isn't absence, it's refinement. It's not what's missing, it's what's been intentionally left out. Silence, when chosen with clarity, becomes the most elegant form of refusal. Imagine this. You're invited into gossip. A group begins to speak about someone who isn't present. Their voice, their choices, their past. One by one, everyone contributes. Not loudly, just casually, as if this were normal, as if this were necessary. Then someone turns to you. What do you think? The room pauses, ready to hear your agreement, your subtle judgment, your complicity, but you don't offer it. You look at them gently, and then you say nothing. Not to be aloof, not to shame them, but because you've already decided you will not trade your peace for temporary belonging. The moment stretches. They feel it. The weight of your refusal not harsh, but undeniable. This is the kind of silence that doesn't break relationships. It reveals them. You begin to see who values your presence even when you don't play along, who respects your restraint, who notices that your silence carries intention. And slowly, the world around you adjusts. You become the one they think twice about gossiping around. Not because you scolded them, but because your energy made it clear I don't offer my voice to things that dim others. This is how you reclaim dignity in a world of performance, not by louder refusals, but by quieter boundaries. You begin to understand that saying no doesn't always need words. Sometimes it's the pause before you answer, the unreturned message, the breath you take instead of the explanation you don't owe. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you," but he also lived as someone who knew when to exit a space with grace. You too can begin to exit, not with slamming doors, but with soft silence. Not with righteous monologues, but with a calm withdrawal. Because when you stop chasing what doesn't nourish you, you start attracting what honors you. This silence isn't passive, it's deliberate. It's the kind of quiet that reclaims your time, your energy, your life. Think about how many arguments you avoided simply by not responding. How many apologies you never had to give because you never stepped out of alignment. How much peace remained intact because you chose not to win. This is the Stoic's final elegance, to know you could have said something and chose not to, because your highest self does not need to engage with every version of someone else. Your silence becomes the gate. It decides who enters your attention, who earns your explanation, who receives your light, and not everyone should. So tonight, as the sky darkens and the world outside begins to soften, ask yourself, where did I say no today? Without saying a word. Where did I keep my peace? By offering only my presence. And tomorrow, if the world asks too much, will you remember that silence is not what you withhold? It is what you offer with care, that your refusal can be loving, that your withdrawal can be sacred, and that sometimes the most elegant truth you'll ever express is the one you never need to explain. Let that silence cover you now, not as absence, but as armor, not as rejection, but as respect for yourself and for the life you've chosen to live gently, wisely, and without waste. You've spoken enough. Now rest. In your silence, in your knowing, in your strength. How to outsmart anyone without saying a word. A Stoic's way to sleep. This story has quietly walked you through 12 subtle, powerful lessons, each one inviting you to reclaim your peace, your pace, and your presence in a world obsessed with noise. Not through sharp words or clever comebacks, but through silence, through stillness, through the kind of awareness that says, I see everything, and yet I choose what deserves my energy. You learned that silence can be more commanding than speech, that a steady breath is sharper than the sharpest reply, that walking away from a pointless battle is not retreat, it's wisdom, that slowing down in a speeding world allows you to see clearly, that emotional mastery isn't suppression, but selection, that understanding doesn't always need to be explained, and that the most elegant form of refusal is simply not engaging. At every turn, you were invited to pause instead of react, to witness instead of rush, to hold your center instead of proving your worth. You've come to see that Stoicism isn't about becoming less human, it's about becoming more whole, more rooted, more discerning. And perhaps in the stillness of tonight, you're beginning to realize the less you say, the more you see. The less you chase, the more you receive. And the less you explain, the more your life begins to speak for itself. So, as you drift towards sleep, know this. You don't have to outtalk the world. You just have to stop giving your light to people who cannot see it. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Your calm is already your cleverness. Your restraint is already your reply. Let the silence hold you now. Let the breath anchor you. Let the peace you've earned by not fighting what didn't deserve you be your final victory tonight. Sleep deeply knowing you've outsmarted the world in the most beautiful way possible by not letting it shake your soul.